At the edge of the world is on edge. And Russia is a big part of why.
Russia is without question a threat in the Arctic. Without question.
The biggest threat to Arctic security comes from Russia.
We don't take Greenland, Russia or China will, and I'm not letting that happen.
But is Donald Trump right? Is Russia a threat here? What are Moscow's Arctic interests? And how will they be affected by his Greenland gambit?
We went to find out.
It's 9 o'clock in the morning and it is still dark here. That's how far north we are. We are in the city of Murmansk right now, well inside the Arctic Circle, and at this time of year there's only a couple of hours of daylight each day, and from here we're heading to the coast.
We've travelled to Russia's northwest corner, the Kola Peninsula. It's the cornerstone of Russia's Arctic security, home to its northern fleet and one of the highest concentrations of nuclear weapons in the world.
Because of all the military assets here, a lot of this region is totally out of bounds, including the area we're driving through right now. That side of the road is off limits, so is the other side. We can drive through here, but we can't get out and wander around. And in fact, our destination is one of the only places along Russia's entire Arctic coast that you can travel to without a special permit. And I think that says a lot about how sensitive Russia is about its Arctic region.
Our destination is Tereberka, a remote fishing village that's become an unlikely holiday hotspot. But even for tourists, the Arctic is a sensitive subject. Geopolitics gets the cold shoulder.
Без политики. Что угодно, можем природу обсудить. Это без проблем. Политику не хочется. Мы все-таки приехали отдыхать сюда.
Хорошо. А вы?
Да, я поддерживаю товарища. Политика требует более взвешенных решений и, так сказать, мнений.
Russia's interests in the Arctic come from its geography. More than 50% of the Arctic coastline is Russian. And those interests fall into two categories. One is economic, so trade, shipping and natural resources. And the other is security, and that's militarisation.
But climate change means all that's in flux. Everything here is shifting, which has pros and cons for Russia. First, the economic interests, best viewed from the waves. The sea doesn't freeze here because it's where the Gulf Stream ends, bringing warm water from the Atlantic. But further along the coast, the ice is also getting scarcer, which means new shipping routes are opening up.
This is the start of the Northern Sea Route, which goes from Europe to Asia along Russia's Arctic coast. Until recently, it wasn't really viable, and only then in the height of summer. But every year now, it's more and more accessible because of melting ice.
It means vessels can bypass the Suez Canal and reduce their journey by 40%. It's a major attraction for trading nations like China and a potential moneymaker for Russia, which controls the route's access. An icebreaker escort is a mandatory requirement, and foreign vessels must pay for permits too.
Specially designed.
Nikolai sailed the route in November 2018, and even then, he says, an icebreaker wasn't always needed.
It wasn't much ice. It was a lot of open water spaces between, so we managed to go through.
How many days did it take you?
From Norway to Nakhodka, it took 21 days.
Just 21 days, and the other route would have taken via Suez?
About a month and a half, about 40 days, something
So it's
like
much shorter and much cheaper.
Yeah, much shorter, much cheaper, yes.
The melting ice also unlocks an area rich in natural resources, untapped oil and gas reserves that Russia hopes to bring to global markets. But what's good for the economy is bad for national security.
This coast here is essentially Russia's northern border, and it stretches more than 15,000 miles in that direction. Arctic ice used to act as a natural barrier for it and provide protection, but not anymore. Climate change means it's disappearing, and it leaves this coastline increasingly exposed.
That's why all along here, Russia has been busy, reopening and modernising more than 50 Soviet-era military posts in the past 2 decades. This one, off the coast of eastern Siberia, has been transformed into a state-of-the-art base. Sky News was given a tour in 2019, when Moscow was proud to show off its Arctic military might. Such access isn't possible now, not since the Kremlin's invasion of Ukraine. But on this frontier, are its manoeuvres offensive or defensive? Is Russia a threat? On the streets of Murmansk, the world's largest city north of the Arctic Circle, the answer is a resounding no.
Очевидно, что это ересь. Ну, потому что зачем нам Гренландия? У нас такая большая красивая страна.
Мы никому угрозы не представляем. Никому. Но поражаемся вот этим политикам, которые почему-то всю вину ссылают на нас и на нашего грамотного, умного, непревзойденного. Никому нет такого ума, сколько в нашем президенте.
On Greenland, Moscow's adopted an unusual stance. Instead of condemning Trump's talk of a takeover, it's almost done the opposite and encouraged him to go for it.
Is Russia a threat? Is he right? Do you have designs on Greenland? And if not, how do you respond to his desire to acquire it? Do you support or oppose it?
Мы не имеем никакого отношения к планам захватить Гренландию. Я не сомневаюсь нисколько, что в Вашингтоне прекрасно знают об отсутствии таких планов и у России, и у Китайской Народной Республики. Это не наш вопрос. У нас многие вообще не знали, что это такое среди наших граждан, пока вдруг Гренландия не заняла первые полосы. Ну, это решайте внутри Североатлантического альянса, еще раз говорю. Мы посмотрим, как будет решен этот вопрос.
But is that true? If the US were to acquire Greenland, would Russia really just stand back and watch? On the one hand, there's a lot to gain, splits in the NATO alliance and a ready-made justification for its war on Ukraine. But longer term, there are risks. American missiles could be brought nearer.
Regardless of how the Greenland crisis ends, there will be an expanded U.S. military presence in the Arctic, and that will need to be included in Russia's Arctic military planning. So, we're seeing a spiraling action-reaction situation where Russia would also respond with expanded military exercises and formations, perhaps.
In other words, instead of countering a Russian threat, a grab for Greenland may just create one by triggering an Arctic arms race. All this has made Yevgeny nervous. He runs a food truck next to Murmansk port. On the menu are seafood snacks and concern over Donald Trump.
Гренландия — это тоже северные территории, и это, конечно, опасное заявление Трампа, опасное. Я считаю, что Арктика и северное побережье — это такая зона мирного существования. В мирном плане это все осваивать, без всяких резких выпадов и заявлений.
Historically, the Arctic has been immune from conflict, an area of cooperation, not confrontation. But for how much longer? This is where territories end, but not nations' ambitions, and those are only expanding.